Right. Can everybody hear us? Mm-hmm. Hear me? So before we start, I'm just curious, does anyone here know what to do when the cops ask questions? Please tell me.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey, we're done. Everybody knows. Good enough. If it were only that easy. If it were only that easy. So,
I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Cannacon for having us out here in beautiful New York City.
And for those of you who don't know who we are, I'm Mark Wasserman, together with my big brother Craig. We are known as the POT Brothers at Law. We're California attorneys handling all aspects of cannabis business licensing and regulations, as well as all areas of criminal defense. We also have a worldwide attorney referral network system that we've created through our large social media following. We have over 1 million viewers across all social media, and we have over 800 million views collectively on our educational videos. Most importantly, and the reason why we're all here, we teach people to peacefully engage with law enforcement by using 25 simple words known as the script, and to shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. Now, we have trademarked and copyrighted the script for legal services, and shut the fuck up is trademarked as well. And we are here to teach you the etiquette of engaging law enforcement. And we like to start with a little bit of introduction. My brother will tell you how he got into law and his areas of practice. Way back, what, in the 30s?
No, it was the way they refer to it now is the early 1900s. The mid-1900s. Doesn't that sound a long time ago? I've been practicing since 1986. And I really started getting into the cannabis space. I mean, I've been smoking cannabis since I was 16. And it wasn't until my brother actually got into criminal law that we started doing cannabis law. My son, at an early age, liked cannabis. It helped him with a lot of issues. He then wanted to get into selling cannabis and growing cannabis in California under the old rules.
I think it's important that you tell people that when he was 14, 15, that you suggested he used cannabis instead of other medication that doctors wanted him to use.
They wanted him to take all kinds of other medication. We were going through a really rough patch. And instead, I showed him cannabis. And cannabis worked for him. And
little did we know.
Little did we know he'd become the icon he is today. My son out of California, Jay Cures of West Coast Cure, which is they have a concentrate company and pre-rolls and in the legal space in California. So once he wanted to get into the space, we decided we better learn the laws.
Once my nephew started getting arrested and I had to represent him, we were making sure that the way he was doing things was proper under California law back then, which had it still as felonies first, and if you were doing A to Z, you had a defense. And that is what we took to task and to heart when he showed he wanted to do this. You know, like I told him and all my other clients in California, I'm going to teach you how to commit the felonies of cultivating, of distributing, of possession, of sales, but you got to do it. Here's the manual. It was right in the law. Do it this way. We'll have a defense after you get caught. And the most important thing, though, was how to deal with law enforcement. So before we even get to that as a defense, we get to everything else.
And that's where STFU was really born, was from my son. And my son went through 2 different felony cases back in the day.
And he grew up hearing us beat into him, you shut the fuck up.
You never consent to a search. Ever, you shut the fuck up and don't consent to a search. Because the only reason they're talking to you, law enforcement, is because they don't have enough to arrest you on. Otherwise, they would just arrest you. If they're talking to you, that means they don't have enough to arrest you on. And we hammered it into his head. So when he picked up these cases, without going into a lot of detail about
do the first case first.
First one? So
Home robbery.
He had 24 plants he was growing for patients. He had all the patient information. He had all the under the law, the stuff that he needed. But back then, it was still a felony first, and then you'd show him you're doing it correctly. You could potentially beat the felonies. So he had a home invasion. He actually fought off the guys. They ran away. Manager calls the police. Police come, and they, believe it or not, profile my kid. He's a shorter kid. It was in the morning, wearing a wife beater and like boxer shorts, and they're like, "Why did you get robbed? What's in your place?" I'm like, TVs? I mean, You know, but they just knew something was up. And he refused to let them in the house. He refused to consent to a search. And they had him on the curb. This is his place getting robbed. Now he's on the curb. And he has his keys next to him. And they finally come out and ask him after 40 minutes, and we hear this on the video and audio that we got later from the whole transaction, where you hear him, we're going to get in the house. We're going to get in the house. We know something's going on. We know something's in there.
The cops often forget that they're mic'd up. You know, just remember that.
Believe it or not. And they come back to my kid. He's sitting on the curb. They point down and say, are those your keys? He says, yes, but I don't consent to a search. Because when they came, he came out with his keys and locked the door so they couldn't just walk in.
Uh-oh. You okay?
Water went down the wrong way. So ultimately, they point to the keys and then they pick them up. Go in the house, and oh my God, I think he had like 24 plants. And they made it seem like it was
Made the local papers, it was
Like
the
a-
biggest drug bust.
like $1 million or something. It was ridiculous. But be that as it may, my son said he did not consent. So once we get the audio back, right when the cop
video.
says, and this is the first of what is going to happen twice in his lifetime, where this happened, different police department. We're watching it and we're listening, and right when he points down to the keys, the audio literally goes,
Where he supposedly said, I consent.
So we actually fight the case.
No, this is we hired attorneys.
I know.
Yeah, come on.
So I guess this is what catapulted us into the business. Is we hired an attorney because we're like, we shouldn't really represent our own kid. It's like working on your family as a doctor. And we told them that my kid was ready to go to jail. He's like, I didn't consent.
We had him doing everything.
They didn't have probable cause to get in. There's no way we're going to make a deal.
And we found these two brother attorneys.
That's even funnier.
In a nice high-rise somewhere.
And we went in and said, my son said, we're not going to take a deal. We're going to fight this. And we want to run a motion because we knew what to do. We just weren't comfortable at that minute representing the kid. So the very first court appearance, my brother goes down and he's sitting there in his civilian clothes, and the other attorney has my son in the courtroom, comes out of the courtroom.
It was the younger brother.
Who we told we didn't want to go. We wanted the older brother. We said, we want you to go to court. And so that he sent his brother.
After saying he would.
And then so he leaves my son in the courtroom, comes out, talking to the district attorney. My brother's sitting right next to him. They had not met my brother, the attorney that was sent. And he says, yeah, I'll get him to take 90 days felony. What the fuck?
I was waiting. So that I was outside the hall when he was talking to the DA, and I heard all this. And I just waited outside the hall, and I was waiting to hear my nephew's voice, because I knew what was coming when he went in there and told him, all right, this is the deal. You're going to take this, and you're not going to go to jail. You're going to get this. And I heard it. I fucking told you I'm not taking deals. That's
So we subbed in.
Well, no, we went back to their
Oh,
place
yeah.
with me, and the guys turned white as a ghost, and we fired them. Got them.
Well, they're what you call, and this happens in every state, bleed them and plead them attorneys. Bleed them, get their money, and then plead them out as quick as possible, because the fewer court almost 99% of attorneys in criminal law do flat fee. So if you can just make one appearance, bam, you made a lot of money. And that's just, our criminal cases might take 10 appearances. Because we don't just roll over, we're going to fight. So eventually, we got rid of them, we filed the motion, went to court. My son's on the stand testified that he did not consent to a search.
No. The first case was they didn't even go to, we went to court, and the DA, the special DA came in after we were dealing with these other ding-dongs for a year.
No, we still put the case on, but they didn't testify. The cop didn't testify because the special DA looked at the video, saw what we were saying.
Same video the other DAs looked at.
Right.
And they went forward saying, we were at court. The special DA comes in, okay, looked at the video, and what happened?
The cop didn't testify. He would have had to perjure himself. So my son got on the stand, because he still got to have the hearing. My son said he didn't consent, even though that's what it said in the police report. And if he did, he was disowned from the family. That's what he told the judge. And ultimately, the judge threw the case out because he believed my son didn't consent. There was a police report with no cop testifying. And this is going to repeat itself a couple years later when he had a delivery service. And again, the cop, same exact scenario. At one point during the stop, the audio goes blank, and he said that's when he consented. Same thing, got on the stand, I don't consent to searches. My uncle, dad lawyers, cop actually got on the stand on this one.
Got the crossing.
And we like ate her lunch because she lied through her teeth that my kid consented to a search.
Well, so the card, if everyone didn't get this card on your seat, we have them, and this card has the 25 words on it. And we tell you to keep it in your wallet behind your ID. And my nephew took this card and gave it to the officer. And we see this all on the video. And when I had her on the stand, we got to that part of the video, and I said, "Is this the card?" And I approached, and I said, "Will you please read it?" And she read this. To the court, to the judge, I do not consent to a search to any police officer or law enforcement personnel. I am invoking my Fifth Amendment Miranda rights, and I will only speak to you with my attorney present. Please allow me to contact my attorney. And then she gets him out of the car, walks him around, all on video, and then they're off on the curb, out of view from the video now. And she comes, and this is all illustrated in the police report, back in view, gloves on, and starts searching. The audio, as she's going over there, she says he sat down on the curb, and then that's where he gave consent. Right there, again, like in the other one, the audio, So when I had her on the stand, I asked about what happened to the audio. It's pretty convenient that it's not there. Oh, technical issue, this, that, and the other, whatever. And I said, well, my nephew said that he'd be basically beaten to death if he talked to cops.
Plus he just handed her this card 3 minutes earlier saying I do not consent to a search.
So I said, I'm very curious. 3 minutes before you say he consented, that we can't hear, he gave you this card that you just read that said, I do not consent, and we've been teaching him his whole life not to consent and talk to cops, but he did? What did you say? How did you do it? I gotta know. You're a genius. How'd you get him to flip like that in 3 minutes? And she said, well, you know, the time you're confusing me. And I said, oh, well, maybe you're a liar, which you don't say that as an attorney. I've been doing it 26 years. I've never done that since. I never did it before. You let the judge and the people make that decision. And the judge glared at me, but I was pissed. I was fuming.
So the judge found he did not consent, didn't believe her at all, and dismissed the 4 felonies that he was up against at that time. And then the best part was after all this, because he was doing it all correctly like we told him, we did a motion for return of the evidence, and we got to walk out of the Newport Beach, California Police Department with a box full
Locker 420.
all of his cannabis that he was selling. Guns. No guns. Money. Phones. Yeah, the guns were hidden. No. But that's kind of what started us off.
Well, him.
And then, so fast forward after these 2 cases, and then Instagram comes online, and he's like, Dad, you guys need to do Instagram. You need to do Instagram. I'm over Facebook, and this was, in 2015, I was over Facebook. And so he actually approaches us and says, Dad, I got a guy I know, a real good friend of mine. His name is Adam, and there's a show on Be Real TV called Getting High With. And it's a talk show where he had people come in and smoke blunts and joints and bongs and pipes.
Mostly rappers and celebrities.
But he wanted attorneys to talk about the upcoming Prop 64. Which,
smoke with him.
And actually smoke at the same time and use the cannabis.
And they couldn't find any attorneys.
None.
This kid says, my uncle and dad will do it without talking to us. And he comes to the office this one day and says that. And I said, oh, kid, where do we go? He was like, wait. No, what about the state bar? We're going to be smoking. And so he wasn't so quick to want to do that.
But we still did it that evening. We went, we did the show.
Everything was legal. We had our medical cards. It was a private place. Right. We went through all the little analysis. In fact, we're not doing anything wrong. Let's go. Who's going to be watching? A bunch of stoners.
Right. It's all streaming on the internet. And so we did the whole show, and we actually went about an hour and a half, which is the longest he's ever had. And we interacted with the live stream. And after we were done, my son's like, Dad, you've got to do Instagram. So we had teased years earlier about being brothers, we're attorneys, we smoke pot.
Pop Brothers at Law.
So I went online, like literally as we were there, because we took some pictures with Be Real, which was really cool, really great guy. And came up with POT Brothers at Law. So it's POT _ law _ at _ blah, 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 because I kept putting a space in. I didn't know it put an underscore. So that's why it's POT _ everywhere, because I thought it was just a space. We put up, we started our page, we put up Be Real and a couple tips, and then we decided, my son's like, Dad, no one gives this kind of advice to people. You know, and it's so easy, and it's like, if you want to talk to a lawyer, you got to spend $500 and go in and get a consult. And we felt that what we were going to teach to people didn't require a consult. It didn't require come in and then I'll tell you how to shut the fuck up. Or usually it's after you get busted, then we tell you this is what you should have done.
Preventative.
And so we started doing the legal tips. We started off as legal tips in California because we're California lawyers. We don't practice in other states. But because of the nature of our shut the fuck up, don't consent to a search, it's don't incriminate yourself. There's illegal search and seizure laws. These are all constitutional law that applies in every single state. So it went from this California thing to all of a sudden nationwide because it applies in every state. Your constitutional rights, be free from unreasonable search and seizure, is in every state, period.
And when we started teaching what we were talking about, it was just shut the fuck up, don't consent to searches. And as we were spreading that around, we were getting lots of questions.
Right, do I just ignore the cop? So there's 25 words you'll see on the back here that we call the script. It started as just shutting the fuck up, telling people to shut the fuck up. And then people, what if I just don't talk to him, go mute? Cop's gonna be pissed. Or you say it's none of your business, I'm not talking to you.
What do I say if he
Cop
does
might be
this?
pissed.
Or the cop
Now,
does that?
no matter what you do, cop still might be pissed. And they still might be an ass, and they still might throw you a beat. There's nothing we can really do to prevent that other than bringing the risk level down for that to occur. And so that's where we came up with the script. And every line, we'll go over this real quick, every line on the back of that card is based in law. It's not just willy-nilly, let's come up with some words. So the reason why there's, why did you pull me over or why did you stop me on the street, either way, is because they have, what, 8 to 10 minutes, 8 to 9 minutes to develop independent probable cause to keep you longer than just the infraction they pulled you over for.
They got to write that ticket and give you that ticket in that time frame unless there's independent probable cause to further detain and do other things.
That's why they start asking you questions. What are you doing? I mean, why are you on this road? Why didn't you take Highway 90? Why are you on this road over here? There's all drug activity on this area. Why are you doing this?
Or they might be nice to you when they come up to you, because you got to remember, when cops get out of their car and approach you, they are looking in every crack and crevice in your car, looking for something in plain view, whether it's a roach or anything, or remnants of some coke that your friend dropped, or whatever. Anything in plain view, they are looking. And when they came up and act like your friend, like, well, you know, oh, that's a nice hat, or so, whatever they say that's kind of friendly like, they want you to just respond to start talking, so then you're talking.
But why did you pull me over? Starts the clock. Now, you're not sitting there with a time clock. They might keep you for a half hour. But everything we're telling you to do preserves your rights, remedies, and defenses when you need to get a lawyer if you do catch a case. So it's, hey, and everybody's getting mic'd up and everybody's getting video and audio these days. So it's later on down the road, we can argue you didn't follow, the cop didn't follow the law. So that's why did you pull me over or why did you stop me?
And then just to back up a minute, one of the things that we're really big on is preventative. Preventing things from happening, reducing your risk of criminal liability, reducing that risk. And so I am. It would have been faster if you didn't say anything right now. So I'll go through it real quick.
We should do it faster.
I'm going to do it as fast as I can. I'll do this all day with you. So when you get into your garage before you get in your car, you can make sure you don't have things hanging from it. A lot of states it's a violation, and cops look for obscure vehicle code violations to pull you over. And so if your license plate is covering your registration by a ½ inch and that's not clear, if you have dings in your window, all these little things are reasons.
The light over your license plate.
That's a big one, all over the country. The light that illuminates your rear license plate being out. make sure that's working. And especially if you're in the cannabis business, if you're delivering, if you're driving around, if you got cannabis in your trunk, and that's where it should always be, in a lockbox in the trunk, if you are driving around like that, every time you stop and do a delivery or whatever, and before you get in your car, make sure all the blinkers are working, make sure the lights are working. Last thing you need is to that's how it happens. You get pulled over some bullshit like that, and then it's all downhill from there. So let's stop the pullover by doing those little extra 2-3 minutes every time, especially for those in the cannabis space. Then when you get in your car, now for everybody, when you get in your car, think, I might get pulled over today, because people like to keep their ID in their wallet, their insurance over here in their glove compartment, and then the center console has the registration. And then when you get pulled over, we already know we don't want to reach everywhere, so take it all, put it right there on the visor. So that's where it is, a hole, clip it there, keep it there. So when you're driving, you see the lights, you pull over as soon as it's safe. If you have tinted windows, roll them all down. Because cops, we don't hate cops. People think we do. We hate bad cops. We hate cops that violate and trample on your rights. But we have nothing against cops in general. They have a hard job. Cops do traffic stops. They walk up, they get shot. It's happened. We know people like that. So we want to make them feel safe, as safe as we can. They see tinted windows. Who's back there? What's going on? I can't. So put it down, make them feel safe. To that end, if you don't have tinted windows, you want to keep your driver's side window rolled down just enough to pass these documents through. And when you pull over, you turn off the motor, you have your keys in your pocket and your hands right on the steering wheel, so the cop knows where your hands are and they see exactly, feel safe. And that way you're going from here to there when they ask you for everything, and you're not reaching all over the place. Then when they come up to you and say, what are you doing in my area? Or whatever they say, you say, why did you pull me over? For the reasons we explained. And then here's where you're going to start finding out what kind of cop you got. You say, oh, you were speeding. Now, what's that smell? Where are you going? What time? Whatever. It's none of their business. Now, remember, we're in the United States. None of their business. Any of these questions, they don't get to know. They don't get to know. So the easiest thing to say, I'm not discussing my day. Now, we get a lot of pushback from minorities and people of color that if I say that, they're going to kick my ass and they're going to rip me out of the car, and that's not going to work for me. So we like to explain the script and what it's for, what it's not for. Okay? What we're talking about is not to make sure you don't get profiled and pulled over, not to make sure you don't get some kind of ticket, not to make sure you don't get arrested or charged or beat or killed. All those things happen at traffic stops. We can't control that, but we can give you these tools to help decrease the chances that those things are going to happen. So when you get pulled over and you say, why did you pull me over? And then you say, I'm not discussing my day, and that cop says, what the fuck's your problem? I'm trying to help you. You can't answer it. Why are you being rude? Why are you not cooperating? Cooperating does not mean anything about talking. You pulled over, you cooperated, you handed your ID, lights, and you're cooperating all over the place. But they want to make you think that answering their questions is not cooperation, and that's what we as a society have been brought up, because as children, the police are at the school, you gotta talk to the police, and that's just ingrained, and so that's just not
And they
true.
will lie to you.
They're allowed
They're
to
allowed to
lie.
lie.
They can say whatever they want to get you to talk. So, point being, I'm not discussing my day. Officer, I want to get some ice cream today. If that officer is the way he is, he's going to beat your ass and rip you out of the car no matter what you say. So by doing what we're saying, we're minimizing those consequences, and we are giving the attorneys the ability to sift through everything, because we're only dealing with one person's language, the cop, and they're going to twist their web of lies so we can catch them. We don't have to deal with the client saying anything. So I'm not discussing my day calmly, peacefully, and remembering that there's only room for one ego at a traffic stop. Let it be the cop. You're not going to win the argument whether I didn't run the red light. That's for court. All arguing is for court later. And the best thing you can do for that attorney you're going to have is give him the opportunity to use every single defense possible, from a profile stop to illegal, just what, you don't know what all the defenses are. We do, but like we say, I have 2 6 guns as a criminal defense attorney, and I'm ready to go. You opened your mouth, I got to take a bullet out. You opened your mouth again, I take another bullet out. Come on, you're taking defenses away, you're cutting me off at the knees. I want to be able to go through everything, and the best way to do that is by sticking to this script. So, I'm not discussing my day.
I mean, we actually get a lot of messages from law enforcement, positive, from all over the country, thanking us for what we're doing is informing people of their rights. And there's officers out there that actually appreciate you knowing your rights, or appreciate you being polite, but knowing your rights. And a lot of times they'll just let you go. So it's not meant for that necessarily, but we have been told that that does happen. They'll be like, the cops got to make a decision. When you don't discuss your day and you don't give them anything, they got to decide, am I going to really push this one, or am I going to go to the next guy who's going to just blab on himself? Because there's plenty of those that you're going to blab on yourself. And they might just go have a nice day. We've had some tell us that they actually, I still am not sure if I believe this or not, but I don't know why someone would lie to us.
It's a couple of them.
You follow the Pot Brothers at Law. And I mean, we get from all across the country, from everywhere, east, west, north, south, that this works as far as the cop needs to make a decision. I'm not going to arrest them. They have nothing. So they have to move on to somebody else. So it doesn't necessarily always work that way. We heard a law enforcement officer out of, I can't remember where she was from, but she put it really good too, was...
That was a police chief.
Police chief. Comply and complain later. Because we always get hit up with the videos you see where a cop's ripping someone out of the car. Now, it's horrible. They have no right to do that.
Yeah. Careful.
Well, under the...
We'll talk about case law in a minute.
Right, under the Terry doctrine, if they feel they're in fear for their life, we've seen this now. And with all the video, our peacefully engaging them has gotten so much more relevant in the wake of all the horrible atrocities that law enforcement are committing against people at traffic stops or minor issues. And it really does bring down the temperature level if you stick to this. And the cops, a lot of them appreciate it. Some of them aren't going to, because that's just who they are, and they're bad, and they shouldn't be law enforcement. So
a lot of the good cops are on TikTok. They follow our TikTok, and they leave messages and DMs and stuff and comments that this works. If you do this, I'll leave you alone. It's just too bad that we have to do this because the rest of it's out there. So after I'm not discussing my day, and no matter what he says, and he's harping on you, you say,
am I being detained or am I free to go?
That's giving them the decision right then and there. Do I have enough?
It's hard to do. I had to do it once on a DUI stop, and I got let go. And it's not an easy thing to... I sat there and am I going to do this?
Put your money where your
I've been teaching this and saying it, and the guy's like, what, 7 feet tall in the window with his flak jacket on and his gear, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, shit. Am I being detained or am I free to go? You're being detained, get out of the car. Fuck. Fuck. This is it. This is the time. And I get out of the car, roll up my window, lock my door, put my keys in my pocket, go to the curb, and they wanted me to do the field sobriety test. Detain, you have to then invoke the Fifth Amendment, and you have to say, I invoke the Fifth Amendment. You can't just go mute.
There's case law.
There was a case where a guy was being investigated for some murder. He was in the interview room for hours, 8 hours, and he wasn't saying a word. Not a word. Didn't say a word. They asked him a question about this murder weapon. And when they ask him about the murder weapon, he does one of these, I don't know, like when you're a kid and your mom knows you're guilty of sin, and you know you're guilty, and you have that guilty look. So that's why anything you say or do can be used against you. So they charged him with murder. They tried getting that motion, because it's like your own statement, just not verbal, kicked out or thrown out of court because he stayed silent. And the Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, said you have to speak to invoke your right to silence. You have to literally say, I invoke the Fifth. And don't get this confused with the Miranda warnings. Miranda, you see that on TV, the cops say...
Unlearn it.
Yeah, unlearn it, because the cops say you have the right to remain silent, anything you say or do may be used against you. People think that until they say that, they can't use anything you said. If they don't say that. The thing with the Miranda warning is, it's a trigger in the law that requires them to tell you this at a certain point during the detention.
Custodial interrogation.
But you go to bed and you wake up with these rights. So you can assert that right before his legal obligation to tell you them kicks in. You don't wait for him to tell you this stuff. By the time he's telling you this, you've already screwed yourself, and he's already got enough, that you potentially could be charged with a crime.
Which goes right into...
And then we can't get those statements thrown out of court. So you invoke the Fifth without being told your rights.
And that, instead of Miranda and all that, all you need to know about the Fifth Amendment is it's your right to shut the fuck up. And that after you invoke the Fifth, anything they say, they threaten you, and like we were saying, they can lie to you. We've heard so many outlandish things that cops have said to get somebody just to say a few words. You shut the fuck up. Now, you shut the fuck up. You're cuffed, you're in the back of the car, shut the fuck up. You get to the station, shut the fuck up. They put you in a holding cell with other people, don't talk to them. Shut the fuck up until you bail out. And here's an important note, especially for people in the cannabis space and in the cannabis business. All of our clients have our same bail bondsman. They have a bail bondsman ready to go, and somebody within the business, that's the designated person, the person who's never going to be arrested. And it's like, and if you're just somebody who's worried about the cops or whatever, you might have your aunt or a cousin have that bail bondsman's number, because you can't bail yourself out. And the key is, when you get picked up and taken in, you're going to a holding cell, a holding station, a substation, whatever it is. You want to get bailed out from there. The moment you get that call, you're able to call, you call the person who's ready. Hey, here I am, here's the booking number. They call the bail bondsman to come. If you don't do that fast enough, you get transferred to county. I don't care what state you're in, you get transferred to county, you could get booked in and out, even with a bondsman, could take 2-3 days, and you're sitting in county. So that's why it's important for cannabis businesses, especially, to have that ready. And so, point being there, you shut the fuck up all the way through, you book out, you go see your attorney, and then you can no longer shut the fuck up, and you tell your attorney everything. And so with that, that goes through our pretty much presentation of the script.
And never consent to a search.
And always film the police, we'll say that.
But never consent to a search. Even if you think, because we get people, well, I got nothing in my car. I got nothing in my car. Go ahead and search. Oh, wait a minute. We had a client who did that. He was days away from being off felony probation.
1 week.
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah, I got no problem. Wait a minute. His friend, who was in the car months earlier, had an antique bullet that he was going to make some jewelry with, dropped it.
He was making a piece for a piece of glass, and it was going to be the tip to smoke out of. A bullet.
When he said, you can state that's what was found. And he caught
He was a felon
case.
with ammunition. Another felony. So
don't consent to a search.
You don't know what's there.
And no matter what they threaten you with, getting the dogs and bringing these guys, and like, do what you got to do. But you don't consent to a search, ever. Because if you watch Cops Reloaded, they're always consenting to a search. Or, yeah, I've got a little bit of weed on me,
well, that, I'm glad you said that, because we lost.
I just got a little bit.
We lost a case in California that we were fighting on an illegal search. A guy was visiting. He was smoking, hotboxing his car because he was looking for a place to stay.
With 10 pounds in the trunk.
Okay, well, and he was at a motel. The motel was full. He was on the thing looking for another place to stay. Cop rolls up, and then the report says, it smelled so bad that I knew there was the illegal amount, just based on the smell.
I wanted to bring a bud into court so bad of the fire and open up that one little bud, and it would stink up the whole courtroom. Because this cop knew, based on the smell, how much weed there was. There was over the legal amount of weed in the car.
So the cop comes up. Now the client didn't shut the fuck up. Cop says, "What do you got?" And we're in California and LA, where you could have up to an ounce. And in the Senate, he pulled out a little bag, about 1/8. I just have this, which is the legal amount. Cop said, "No, the cop searched. That's illegal." Yeah, wasn't doing anything wrong, wasn't doing anything illegal. Why does he get to search? My brother going off with motion. The judge rules. Well, he said it, and the cop got to see if he was lying or not.
If he had not
we don't
said
get
a
to
word,
lie.
if he didn't discuss his day, the case would have been thrown out. Absolutely. But because he said, I have a little, this specific judge felt the cop was authorized to see if he really had a little.
And he didn't, but
He didn't.
that's beside the point.
We get the same ones thrown out all the time with people with 10, 20 pounds.
If he hadn't said anything and that cop searched for the smell, it would have been dismissed because smell is no longer, like here, now it's happening, smell's no longer probable cause. The last thing we get into before Q&A, just really quickly, is at home. At home or in your place of business, the cops come, no warrant, no entry, period. No warrant, no entry. Now, it's not worth getting shot and blocking. If they're going to come in and do it, they're going to do what they're going to do. You know, and you film as much as you can. And if they have a warrant, take it, step aside, film everything they're doing, and you watch.
But no warrant, no entry.
That's key. We had somebody who was on IG Live, and I just happened to be looking at it, and the cops were outside his door. I got his number.
Did they say they had a warrant?
Yeah.
But they wouldn't show it to him.
And I said, tell him to put it under the door. Let's see it. And I could hear everything. And he's going, where's the warrant? Where's the warrant? The cops are going, it's here. Come out and get it. It's here. Come out and get it. And I'm going, don't fucking open that door. You stay there. If they got a warrant, they'll show me. And they finally left. The cops finally left. And they didn't have a warrant. But that's what they'll do. And that just goes with everything. Anytime you're engaging with the police, remember, they're allowed to do these things and lie and all that.
They're
shit.
taught to.
And we can't.
The whole culture of law enforcement, and we won't go on this, that's a whole other subject regarding the culture of law enforcement, but in my view, it should be, the culture needs to change. If you're in law enforcement, it's because when I see you with a blinker out, and I'm coming straight on, and you're making a left turn across traffic, and your blinker isn't working, I'm going to pull you over and go, man, that's really dangerous. Someone could not see you. They think you're going straight. You're going to have a head-on. You're going to have a collision. Hey, how about go get that fixed? Here's a fix-it ticket. I want to keep you and my kid, everybody else safe, and that's dangerous if your blinker's out. As opposed to the culture now is, what infraction do I get to pull someone over for so I can get into that car? So I can just do more. Let's see if I can get lucky today and get, and they profile, and so that needs to change. How long that's going to take is a whole different conversation. Hopefully the sooner the better. I mean, we do get a lot of, like we said earlier, a lot of good feedback from law enforcement. There's more and more constitutional law enforcement professionals out there these days, believe it or not, who love that we teach this, and that they teach it to what city is that where they teach the script to every morning a roll call?
Oh yeah, that was in Kentucky. A sergeant in Kentucky called us and said, yeah, every night before my squad goes out, we stand up and recite the script because we're constitutional cops and we believe in people's rights. And so they're out there. There are great cops out there doing this, and
not enough yet.
But there's a lot of cops out there, and this is one of the videos we posted from the old show Live PD that's not on anymore, of Officer Sticks from Utah saying, we are looking for a reason to pull you over and looking for a way to get in your car. I mean, they said it. They didn't mix it up and nothing. That's an exact quote. And that's what they do. So that's why we do what we do. And one of the things we do, before we get to Q&A that we like to do, one of the things we do on social media, if you don't know, is something called the Daily Script Review, and something we do on Fridays, which we have deemed Shut the Fuck Up Friday, where we've done the script review with different celebrities and other peoples in crowds like this. And if you catch us walking around, you'll learn that if you want to take a picture with us, you have to pay, letting us know you know how to shut the fuck up. So this is what we do. We're going to ask for your participation. I think you'll be able to figure it out. I hope you'll be able to figure it out. So we'll do this.
Let me hold it up.
Okay. All right. We are here at Cannacon, New York City, 2022. And we are going to do the daily script review. Hey, can anybody over here? No, I'm just kidding. All right, big brother, what do you say when the cop first pulls you over?
Why did you pull me over?
And when they start asking questions?
I'm not discussing my day.
And they get rude and they yell at you and ask more questions.
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
And if detained, what do you have to say?
I invoke the Fifth.
And then Cannacon NYC, what do you do? Shut the fuck up! That is
Right.
it.
And never consent to a search.
And always film the police. All right. Thank you for participating in that. Thank you for that. I'm not all the way done now. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I saw that hand go up right
We
there.
had,
What?
there was, yeah. Is that back there?
What?
We have a speaker they can toss.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Just be careful.
There you go. Yes. Speak right into that.
Question. So, this is cute. You gave us signs in regards to getting pulled over, like tail lights, cracked windshields. So as far as home entry, what are some things we can do to kind of safeguard ourselves against home entry or them even getting a warrant to come into the home?
Well, I mean,
if they're knocking on your door with a warrant, they're not coming up to your door if they don't have some kind of probable cause. But as long as you're not doing anything illegal, I mean, if they have a warrant, you got to let them in. I mean, that's just the way it is. If you don't have a warrant, then there's just simply no entry. So, don't do crime if you don't want them to come to the house, maybe. I mean, we don't judge, right? We represent everybody. We don't judge. But, I mean, there's really nothing you can do to prevent that, per se.
if they're going to come with a warrant, they're going to come. And the best thing nowadays is having cameras, having those cameras. Okay, next question. Yes, in the back. What if I check?
I want to know if the members of law enforcement are trained and instructed to get those first few words out of people when they stop them at
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
actual training courses and classes and all that.
They're,
I mean, let me remember, and it's so sad that the academy's 6 months. How much training do they really get?
and it's us versus them training,
Right.
not
So yeah,
policing for safety.
correct. So they're taught early on as how to extract, I put it this way, if they're talking to you, it's only because they want you to help yourself fuck yourself. That's why they're talking to
They
you.
don't have enough. Why? Think here. This is like my brother has said this for years. If they're talking to you, think, why aren't they arresting me right now? What's going on? Because they don't have enough yet, and they're trying to get it and manufacture it by the things you say.
I mean, that's why when we do the script challenge, and we, why did you pull me over? And then they start, oh, nice hat. Where'd you get that hat? Nice hairdo. Where'd you get that hair? Where'd you go? Not discussing my day. Doesn't matter what they tell you, because they start sweet talking you. Yeah, you look good. Where'd you get that? No. So by the way, where you headed? It just kind of starts to flow the conversation. That's why no matter what they ask you, I'm not discussing my day. And you can choose to say it 10 times, 1 time, 3 times before you kick in with the, am I being detained or am I free to go? So.
I just want to know also, how do you think driving impaired gets determined? I mean, I know you can't really smoke weed in a car and be caught.
Well, in California, you can actually smoke cannabis in a car that's not operating. Don't drive impaired. I mean, there's no way, they're not going to be able to come up with a presumptive test like alcohol. I'm not sure what it is in this state, but in California, if you're over 0.08, you're presumed to be impaired. With cannabis, remember, if you're getting pulled over, I mean, I truly think that the cannabis user, this is my opinion, maybe it's 100% right, but the cannabis user, I smoke a lot of cannabis. And that's rare, but it does happen where I'll smoke some gas, I'll be like, I ain't driving nowhere. Most people who smoke cannabis know their limit. They are not going to drive impaired. But when we smoke all day long for 45 years, I can smoke in the morning, I'm not impaired. It's impairment, and they're going to have a hard time. That's why if people shut the fuck up, cops will ask, when did you last smoke? I smell it, and it couldn't be here in New York to try to get that DUI charge. I smoked 4 hours ago. I didn't smoke, I smoked 12 hours ago. DUI potentially. Even though we could potentially beat it, because where's the impairment, officer? Where did they drive impaired? Where's the impairment? Just because you ingested it doesn't mean you're impaired. So I don't think they're gonna be able to come up with one that's presumptive. So that's why you don't say shit about anything about your day.
Yes, over here.
Okay, so the laws here in New York, they have not really gone to the licensing stage.
Correct, that's coming up.
Do you know when?
Hold that up a little more, people can hear you.
Oh, so do you know when that is going to?
I believe it's next year sometime.
I've heard about a year.
Okay.
I've heard about a
To
year.
really put the regulatory into place, and hopefully they don't fuck it up like they did in California.
Oh, really? Well, let's hope not. Because originally this was supposed to have been April of 2022, you know, but.
Yeah, we're not
You
sure.
know, we hope. We can only hope, but you know, the cannabis rolls out slow everywhere.
So under the social equity clause for individuals who have been expunged, right now there's not any, total detail of what to do to go through that process so those individuals can be considered for the social equity component.
Yeah, I mean, that's we don't.
Well, it's
really,
not out yet.
It's not. Yeah, I'm not sure, but we don't really dive into that in other states because we're California attorneys. We do have attorneys that we'd be able to refer people to who are going to be proficient in the cannabis space out
Absolutely,
here.
yes.
And just the social equity program, I dealt with some in California. It is just, it's a mess. It's a mess how it's being implemented, and there's really no support. Even if you qualify as a social equity applicant in California, there's really no support to help you get into it. You still need to partner up with some corporate entity that's going to try to fuck you. I mean, I've dealt with that. I've dealt with a lot of social equity applicants directly, and in partnering up, there are certain rules, and every single one of them, they wanted to bypass the rules because they didn't want a social equity applicant owning 51% of the business, which was what was required.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I don't know what it's going to be out here in New York. Hopefully, they learn from our mistakes. And I know we have some
We got some good people.
attorneys that are from California that we know are going to start opening up offices out here, learning the laws out here. So hopefully they'll have a seat at the table during the regulatory process.
Well, ideally, the model here in New York is supposed to be one that's going to be followed all over the United States. So.
We hope.
We'll see.
We hope
A
so.
lot of talk from the politicians.
Anyone else with a question? Yes, right over there in the beanie with the acid.
So my question is, if you are in New York and you have a medical card, does the script change at all? And then secondly, if you hypothetically own a firearm and it goes in your trunk and you're driving around, so does your weed.
Here in New York, you're probably really screwed. We don't know any of the criminal laws
Guns
out
and
here.
drugs never mix.
We don't know the laws out here, but I do know that New York's got the most restrictive gun laws in the country.
But to your first question, if you have it doesn't matter. You stick to these 25 words no matter what. That's it. That medical card is for you to use after in court to prove whatever you need to prove.
When you go to the dispensary, during the high school, you couldn't go in, so they would just give you the weed right through your window. You'd have to get out the car and put it in your trunk, or what's the deal?
Well, we always...
It depends on the laws. So if it's completely sealed, packaged, sealed, sitting on the front seat, you're probably okay. As long as it's not open.
If it's open, then it's open container. But we suggest always keeping any cannabis in the trunk locked
So
up.
if I tell them that means...
Don't tell them no. Never tell them that. No. That is not... Did you hear what... Shut the fuck up!
I have a question.
Yes.
Do any of the ideas shift between, like, say, local law enforcement, state, or federal, or it applies across the board?
No matter what law enforcement they're from, doesn't matter where they're from, fucking law enforcement from Mars, you're shutting the fuck up and sticking to the script.
It works with the wife, too. Well, I shut the fuck up. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. In the last decade, or especially the last few years, have you noticed an increase in the militarization of police, whether in the gear or equipment they're using, or the tactics they use, or the training they receive?
Well, it's just more like we talked about us versus them. The training isn't to police for safety. It's to go get them, go find out what they're doing, pull somebody over because they're speeding and go find a dead body in the trunk and other things like that, you know. So that's the unfortunate culture that we're dealing with. Yes.
What's up, guys? Just want to thank you for coming out. This isn't really too much for like the law. I was wondering if you guys like rainbow cookies.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions? All right, then what we're going to do now is play our game show called the Script Challenge, which we started during the pandemic. I do this live every Friday on Instagram, and we got time for one or two. Who wants to give it a shot? I got it. Oh, right there. Okay, let's go. Come on up. And we're gonna put you right on the, come on right up here. And we have a prize from Top Tree, $100 cash app. So if you can get this in order the way we teach it, you got that first prize out of the gate. We're gonna give that away. All right, so when I say I'm the cop and I pull you over, it starts. Okay? So I'm the cop, I pull you over, and I say, hey, what are you doing in my neighborhood? And wait, where did you get these braids?
Why did you pull me over?
Because I don't like the way you're driving. You're reckless. Are you going to a drug deal?
I'm not discussing my
I don't care about your day. Where's the drugs?
I'm not discussing my
Where's the drugs? Tell me where the drugs are right now, or you are going to jail.
I'm not discussing.
I don't care about you. Tell me you're not discussing your day one more time. I'm going to arrest you.
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
Oh, really? You know what? You're being detained. Now I want you to tell me where the drugs are.
I invoke the 5th.
Tell me where the drugs are. I don't care about your rights.
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
You're being detained.
I invoke the 5th.
And then what are you going to do?
Shut the fuck up.
There it is. All right. Right on number one. Thank you very much for knowing your rights and playing. We're going to get your information. We'll get that $100. Next one we give away is all this Spray 420 deodorizer. I see that hand going up. All right. Gosh, the last Cannacon, the first 4 people couldn't get it. So, which is no fun.
That was in
for me.
Virginia Beach.
All right, we'll do this last one and then we'll be wrapping up. All right. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Alexia Brown, Mutual Company. Are we started?
No, yeah, well, no, I'll let you know. You're good. She's on the ball. No, what's your name? Where are you from?
Alexia Brown from Orange County.
All right. I'm the cop. I pull you over, you know, and I say, hey, do you need those glasses when you drive?
Why'd you pull me over?
Because you were swerving inside your lane. You know, are you drunk?
I don't want to discuss my day.
I don't care about your day. How about you have 1 or 2 drinks? Just one?
Am I going to be arrested or am I free to go?
You're being detained. Now get out of the car and tell me how many drinks you've had. How many drinks have you had?
I invoke the 5th.
Are you going to tell me how many drinks you had? You're going to shut the fuck up. All right. Easy as pie. There's your straight 420.
Love it.
Thank you very much. All right, the last thing we wrap up with is something that we've got for the younger crowd. And here in New York, I've been wanting to do this. It's a slam poem that we created to further reach people. And it's called Am I Being Detained or Am I Free to Go? By the POT Brothers at Law. Am I being detained or am I free to go? This is what to say. My lawyer tells me so. The cops are out there doing a job. Sometimes they must contain a mob. A thankless job that saves many lives. At their home are worried children, husbands, and wives. But does that give them the right to stomp on my rights? So we are here for you, the cannabis community, to fight. To let you know it's okay to just shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. You start with, I'm not discussing my day, end with, I invoke the 5th. These ain't suggestions. These are words to live by, to memorize. See, it's not about the size of that cop's gun, because they want you to run. So they could pull that macho gun and shoot you for fleeing the scene. Some cops are just plain mean. We must shut it off, shut it down, those feelings of anger that instantly come around when that cop has to show his power and his might without cause, without reason, and we know they're not right. We must remain calm. Keep the devil sleeping on the left shoulder. We must be cold, even colder. Ice must flow through your veins to shut that heat. The blood that rushed your brain straight from your feet when that cop disrespected you because you wouldn't tell him what that smell was. And he accuses you of a pot DUI because he absolutely knows that you're buzzed. But see, they can't tell and they don't know. Only if you tell them so. Oh, officer, I spoke to Joint a few hours ago. Officer, here's my medical rec. Officer, I'm a marijuana patient. We live in America. Prohibition still exists. that cop's gonna do whatever he's gonna do. 50-50, he arrests you. Give us a chance to represent you with a defense that's blazing. Let us show you in court we're amazing. But we can only do that if you listen to our tips. Now let me see you move your lips. You know the drill. When the cops ask questions, we say, I'm not discussing my day. Am I being detained or am I free to go? I invoke the fifth, and then you... It's all about what you say and what you do. We have given you the script. We are telling you what to say. We are telling you what to do. We've put your hands up in protection mode. But should you take a shot to the jaw, we will be here fighting for the cannabis community because we are the Pot Brothers at Law.
Thank you everybody for coming out, and appreciate it.
Just shut the fuck up when cops ask questions.
There's food here. There's grab and go.
Oh, that's right.
No, yeah, I did. It's something that they needed, like security clearance. Yeah. What's that? They can't do it.
I'm good. Pleasure, Mark. All right. Out here? Yeah. Give us a call. Thank you. About 15 minutes. Yeah. Just give us a call on the line, 855 number.
Otherwise, I'm gonna lose numbers and stuff like that, but email.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do have attorneys to affect and then we're actually still coming on board with new attorneys that are gonna be learning the law, but right now,
Yes.
it's not out yet.
Yeah, we have several different attorneys that we prefer to. So
Some are.
Give us a call.
Some are. Right.
Yeah,
So that's
what
working around that, we wouldn't recommend. I mean, we don't practice out, I don't know the laws out here.
So that
But people try to do like in DC, they do that.
email
They
is
do the
over
gift
there.
card.
Just give us a call.
Now you can help me with potential criminal.
I think so. It is what it
Yes,
is.
yeah.
I mean, the people saw us, we were no here. We were in uptown yesterday.
How you doing? Yes.
No, we saw the pop-up, the easy up pop-up on the street.
You know, I have to
Yeah.
once when we don't have something, we start.
It's so low, violent, low crime.
Just a phone call.
Yeah, it's like, what am I so mean? It's, you know, it's just, I think cops just deprioritize that here.
Hello.
So, yeah.
Card and
Right.
sticker.
And then most
Let me get out of here.